Prince Kirill of Bulgaria stood at the crossroads of history, his life entwined with the shifting tides of war and political unrest. As regent for his young nephew, he navigated a nation beset by occupation and intrigue, striving to preserve stability in an age of chaos. Yet, when the communists seized power, even royal blood offered no sanctuary. Condemned in a swift and merciless trial, Kiril's fate serves as a haunting testament to the perilous cost of leadership amid revolution. To understand Prince Kirill, we must first understand his lineage. Born in 1895, Kirill Heinrich Franz Ludwig Anton Karl Philipp, Prince of Preslav, was the second son of Ferdinand I, Tsar of Bulgaria, and his first wife, Marie-Louise of Bourbon-Parma. Ferdinand, a shrewd and ambitious ruler, had orchestrated Bulgaria's independence from the Ottoman Empire, transforming it into a modern kingdom. Kirill grew up amidst the pomp and circumstance of European royalty, but also in a nation grappling with its own identity and ambitions. He was the younger brother of Boris III, who would later become Tsar. While Boris was being groomed for the throne, Kirill pursued a different path. He was known to be less politically inclined, often described as a man of leisure, with a passion for cars, sports, and the arts. This isn't to say he was frivolous. Rather, his interests lay outside the immediate demands of statecraft. He served in the Bulgarian Navy during World War I, demonstrating a sense of duty, but his true inclinations were more bohemian than monarchical. This passion for a less constrained life would, ironically, place him in a perilous position later on, as fate would call him to a role he never sought in a time of unprecedented global conflict. The 1930s saw Europe teetering on the brink of another catastrophic war. Bulgaria, strategically located in the Balkans, found itself in an unenviable position. Tsar Boris III, a shrewd diplomat, tried to maintain a delicate balance, preserving Bulgarian neutrality as long as possible. However, the rising power of Nazi Germany and the relentless pressure from both sides made true neutrality an impossible dream. Boris III, despite his personal reservations about Hitler's ideology, eventually made the agonizing decision to align Bulgaria with the Axis powers in 1941. This was a pragmatic choice, driven by a desire to avoid invasion and to potentially regain territories lost in previous conflicts. However, Bulgaria largely resisted sending troops to the Eastern Front and notably refused to deport its Jewish population, a testament to Boris's moral courage amidst immense pressure. The Bulgarian people, while largely sympathetic to Russia due to shared Slavic heritage and Orthodox faith, also harbored resentment towards their neighbors who had taken Bulgarian lands. This complex tapestry of alliances, grievances, and survival instincts set the stage for the dramatic events that would follow. Then, in August 1943, tragedy struck. Tsar Boris III, often called the Unifier or the Tsar Liberator, died suddenly at the age of 49, shortly after a contentious meeting with Hitler. The official cause was heart failure, but rumors of poisoning by either Nazi or Soviet agents immediately began to circulate, persisting to this day. His death plunged Bulgaria into a crisis. Boris's heir was his 6-year-old son, Simeon II. A child king could not rule, and so a council of regents was established to govern in his stead. And who was chosen as one of these 3 regents? None other than Prince Kirill. This was an unexpected turn for a man who had largely avoided the machinations of state. Thrust into a position of immense responsibility, Kirill found himself at the helm of a nation adrift in the storm of a global war, with the tide turning against the Axis. His co-regents were Prime Minister Bogdan Filov and Lieutenant General Nikola Mihov. Their task was unenviable: navigate Bulgaria through the final brutal years of World War II, a war they had reluctantly joined and desperately sought to exit. As 1944 dawned, the strategic landscape shifted dramatically. The tide had definitively turned against Nazi Germany on the Eastern Front, and the Soviet Red Army was relentlessly advancing. Bulgaria, still allied with Germany, albeit reluctantly, became a prime target. The Regency government, including Prince Kirill, desperately sought an armistice with the Western Allies, hoping to avoid a Soviet occupation. In August 1944, Bulgaria declared neutrality and demanded the withdrawal of German troops. However, it was too little, too late. On September 5, 1944, the Soviet Union, citing Bulgaria's refusal to declare war on Germany, declared war on Bulgaria. 3 days later, the Red Army crossed the border. The invasion was swift and met with little resistance. Bulgaria was not prepared for another war, especially against the Soviets, with whom many Bulgarians felt a cultural kinship. The existing government quickly collapsed. This wasn't just a military invasion, it was the precursor to a complete political overhaul orchestrated by Moscow. As Soviet troops entered Sofia, a new political entity emerged: the Fatherland Front. This was a broad coalition of communists, agrarian populists, social democrats, and Zveno members, largely backed and manipulated by the Soviet Union. Their immediate goal was to seize power, eliminate any perceived opposition, and transform Bulgaria into a socialist state. One of the Fatherland Front's first and most brutal actions was the establishment of the so-called People's Court. This was not a court of justice in any recognized sense, but rather a tool for political purges. Its mission was clear: to systematically eliminate all who had been associated with the previous regimes, particularly those connected to the war effort and the monarchy. Thousands were arrested: former ministers, members of parliament, military officers, journalists, and intellectuals. Prince Kirill, along with his co-regents Bogdan Filov and Nikola Mihov, were among the most prominent figures targeted. They were seen as symbols of the old order, of the fascist monarchy that had allied with Germany. Their arrests were swift and decisive. The stage was set for a show trial designed to legitimize the new regime and send a chilling message to anyone who might oppose it. The trial of Prince Kirill and his co-regents, along with hundreds of others, was a farce. It began in December 1944 and concluded in February 1945. The accused were given minimal opportunity to defend themselves. Confessions, often extracted under duress, were common. The charges were broad and sweeping: anti-state activities, crimes against the Bulgarian people, and collaboration with Nazi Germany. For Prince Kirill, the accusation was primarily that he, as a regent, had allowed Bulgaria to continue its alliance with Germany, thus prolonging the war and contributing to the suffering of the Bulgarian people. His defense, which was barely heard, was that he had simply acted within the framework of his constitutional duties and had tried to save Bulgaria from a worse fate. He was not a warmonger, he was a reluctant figure thrust into an impossible situation. But the outcome was predetermined. On February 1, 1945, the People's Court delivered its verdict. Prince Kirill, Bogdan Filov, Nikola Mihov, and many others, including former government ministers and military officers, were condemned to death. The sentence was immediate and absolute: execution by firing squad. The executions took place just hours after the verdict, in the dead of night, in the trenches of the Sofia military cemetery. It was a swift, brutal, and clandestine operation designed to be quick and definitive, leaving no room for appeals or public outcry. The total number of people executed in that single night is estimated to be over 100, including Prince Kirill. Their bodies were reportedly thrown into an anti-tank ditch, never to be properly identified or given a marked grave. The new communist regime swiftly consolidated its power. The monarchy was formally abolished in 1946 after a rigged referendum, and King Simeon II and his mother, Queen Giovanna, were forced into exile. The execution of Prince Kirill served as a stark warning to any who might harbor monarchist sympathies or oppose the new order. It was a clear message that the past was to be obliterated and a new communist future was to be forged through blood and terror. For decades, the story of Prince Kirill and the other victims of the People's Court was suppressed. It was an uncomfortable truth for the communist regime, a stain on their narrative of liberation. Families were left without answers, and the official history was rewritten to paint the executed as traitors and fascists. It wasn't until the fall of communism in 1989 that the truth about the People's Court and its victims began to emerge. The official records were opened, and a more accurate history could finally be written. In 1996, the Supreme Court of Bulgaria officially overturned the sentences of Prince Kirill and the other regents, posthumously rehabilitating them. Their convictions were declared null and void, recognizing that they had been victims of political repression. Prince Kirill, once dismissed as a man of leisure, found himself caught in the cruelest currents of history. He was not a tyrant, nor a fervent ideologue, but a man placed in an impossible position during an unprecedented global conflict. His execution stands as a poignant symbol of the ruthlessness with which communist regimes often purged perceived enemies and reshaped national narratives. His story, along with countless others, reminds us of the fragility of justice, the dangers of political extremism, and the profound human cost of ideological warfare. The hidden story of Prince Kirill of Bulgaria is more than just a royal tragedy. It's a testament to the fact that even those furthest removed from political ambition can be swept away by the tides of history. It's a call to remember that freedom and justice are hard-won and easily lost. We must never forget the lessons learned from these dark chapters, the importance of critical thinking, the defense of human rights, and the courage to speak truth to power. By understanding stories like Kirill's, we arm ourselves against the dangers of propaganda and the insidious creep of authoritarianism. If you found this journey into history compelling, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel for more untold stories, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. What other hidden histories do you think deserve to be brought to light? Your engagement helps us continue to uncover and share these vital narratives. Thank you for joining us.